So here, in a previous class, we studied about J.J. Thomson atomic model, isn't it? So in this case, we studied that it is nothing but just like a watermelon, isn't it? Where positive part is situated throughout the atom and negative electrons, those are nothing but electrons, isn't it? So those electrons are embedded into the positive part of atom. Clear? So here, what are the main points of this model? What are the main points? It can explain only about the neutrality of atom. So this method can explain only about This method can explain only about the neutrality, but it never explain about the stability of an atom. So just think, if you are considering any one atom and there are a positive and negative particles embedded in a same part, what will happen? So just imagine, so this is nothing but on circular atom, in that positive charge and negative charge are in a same portion. What will happen? It will start to attract, isn't it? In that case, some radiation may emit, so that it will be never in a stable form. So that means J.J. Thomson can explain only about the neutrality of atom, but not about the stability. So that's why next theory we have to study. So that is about Rutherford atomic model. So that is nothing but second theory, very important theory. So that is Rutherford's nuclear model of atom. It is Rutherford's nuclear model of atom, which is also known as alpha particle scattering method. Clear? So this is also known as alpha particle scattering experiment. Also, it is known as gold foil experiment. Remember, so here Rutherford nuclear model of atom is also known as gold foil experiment or else alpha particle scattering experiment. Clear? So what are the construction of this experiment, or what are the construction of this one? So here Rutherford took one lead chamber. In that he took a alpha particle source, that is nothing but just radium. So he took a alpha particle source in a lead chamber. So then he took one lead foil. So this is nothing but lead foil. Clear? So this has one hole in it. Clear? So then he took one gold foil, very thin sheet of gold foil. Remember, here you have to consider very thin foil. Clear? So very thin gold foil. Though then he took a circular coil which is coated with zinc sulfide. That is nothing but again fluorescent in nature, isn't it? So that means whenever rays will strike over it, it will start to glow, isn't it? So now, what was the experiment? He took a lead chamber, then alpha particles are introduced over the gold foil. So main here, we are considering gold foil, very thin sheet of gold foil. So remember, here we are considering very thin sheet of gold foil, so that it can contain only 2 to 3 atoms in that sheet. Clear? So because gold is a malleable, isn't it? We can convert it into thin sheet. So that's why he took a gold foil and he considered a thin sheet so that only 2 to 3 atoms can be situated in that foil. Clear? So then he introduced alpha particle. He introduced alpha particle or alpha rays over a gold foil. So there are 3 observations, very important observations. So those are nothing but first observation of this experiment is, so most of alpha particles are passed through gold foil undeflected. So clear? So here most of alpha particles moves undeflected. So that means here electrons or alpha rays are moving straight away from the foil. That means, just imagine, so there is no obstacles, so then ray directly move further, isn't it? So that was the first observation. Most of alpha particles moves undeflected. So there is no deflection or deviation from its original path. So that was the first observation. Clear? And the second observation made by this experiment by Rutherford is very few alpha particles or alpha rays are deflected by small angle, Yeah, second observation or second, he noticed that few alpha particles are deflected by small angle. So these are deflected the small angle. He noticed. First observation is most of alpha particle moves undeflected. Second one is few alpha particles deflected by a small angle. And the third observation made by Rutherford is very few alpha particle are deflected around 180 degree, That means those are bounce back. Clear? So that means here, third point is very important. Very few alpha particles are deflected backwards, back in their original path, isn't it? Almost around 180 degree deviation. Clear? So these are three observations made by Rutherford. Clear? So these are observations. So now just imagine, here I'll consider that same experiment. So clear, so this one I'll consider as an atom or something. So now what will happen? First, alpha rays are move undeflectedly because there is no obstacles. Clear? So next, some of alpha particles are deviated by small angle. Clear? And next one, I'll consider another one. So those are deflected backwards. So now, according to this observation, Rutherford gives some conclusion. Is this clear? Students, is this clear? So these are three observations which was noticed by the Rutherford. Is this clear? So most of alpha particles, yes, okay. So next one, so these are observations made by Rutherford. Next one is conclusion. So what are the conclusion of this thing? So next one is conclusion. In that first one, he observed there is no deviation, isn't it? So that's why he concluded that atoms have lot of empty space. Atoms have lot of empty space. So this was first conclusion based on a first observation. Then second one, what is the observation? Few alpha particles are deflected by very small angle, isn't it? So here he concluded that atoms have positively charged entity. Second one, atoms have positively charged entity. So now just tell me why he concluded that there is a positive part. Why? Because we considered yesterday, isn't it? Alpha particle is nothing but helium nucleus. Clear? Helium nucleus. So this is a positively charged particle. If in case you are considering any other positive, then only it will deflect or rebounce. Isn't it? So that's why he concluded atom have positively charged entity. It has a positively charged entity. Clear? So this is a second point. And the third point, that positive charge is situated in a small portion. Clear? So where positive charge entity is present in small portion. So that is at the center of the atom. So this was the second observation. Clear? So this was the, sorry, third, that is sum of positive charge particles are there. So those positive charge are situated in a small portion, that is at the center of the atom. So next, fourth one, the dense mass is very small compared with the atom. So he concluded, so positive part is very small. Positive part is very small when it is compared with, whole atom. Positive part is small when we compared it with atom. Clear? So that he concluded it's around 10 raised to minus 15 meter is nothing but radius of nucleus, and 10 raised to minus 10 meter is radius of an atom. So here he concluded that 10 raised to minus 15 is a very smallest, isn't it, when we compare it with 10 raised to minus 10 m. Clear? So these are nothing but four conclusions drawn by the Rutherford. First one, yeah, which repels some rays. First one, atoms have lot of empty space, so that's why electrons or rays are moving undeflected. Clear? First one. Second one, atoms have positively charged entities, so that's why there is a deflection or deviation from its original path by the small angle. So next one, the positive charge is situated in a small portion, isn't it? So that's why third point is very few alpha particles are bounced back, isn't it? So that's why he concluded positive charge situated in a small portion. Clear? So these are conclusions made by the observation of Rutherford's nuclear model of atom. Is this clear? So first one, atom have lot of empty space, that's why alpha rays are moved undeflectedly. And second one, atoms have positively charged entity, so that's why what will happen? Some of alpha particles are deflected by some angle. And next one, positive charge situated in a small region or small space, so that's why what will happen? What will happen here? What will happen? Very few alpha particles will bounce back. Is this clear? Is this clear, dear students? Is this clear? So next one, he gave some postulates based on this. What are those postulates? Postulates. That means final conclusion. Postulates. Final conclusion. So that is, first one, the positive charge and most of the mass of atom is situated at small portion, so that is at the center. Clear? So first one, the positive charge and most of the mass of atom is situated at a small portion, and that is known as nucleus. So first, one minute, students. First one, so that is the positive charge and most of the mass of atom is situated at a small portion, and that is known as a nucleus. Is this clear? And the second point, so that's why positive charge, most of the mass atom is situated at a small portion, that's why how he considered that mass was concentrated in a small portion. You itself imagine very few particles are bounced back. If in case you are considering a solid, if in case you are throwing ball towards any wall, what will happen? It directly come backward, isn't it? So that means if in case there is a same mass or having same weight, there is a one particle present. If in case you are considering another particle, if you are hitting it, what will happen? It will reverse back, isn't it? So that's why very few particles are bounced back. So that's why he concluded that there was a concentrated in a small portion. So that those electrons or the mass of the atom is concentrated in a small portion. Is this clear, Shilpa? Huh? So third observation is very few alpha particles are bounced back, isn't it? So that's why he concluded that, what is PCMB? So that's why he concluded that it is situated at a small portion. So next one, second one, the nucleus or what? Okay, the nucleus, second point, the nucleus is surrounded by electron. That means electrons are revolving around the nucleus in a circular path, which are known as orbit. Clear? So those are known as orbit. So just think here, it's okay. Here he took a nucleus, so consider atom. So now he considered it as a nucleus. So this one is nucleus. Here he explained electrons are moving in a circular path. Electrons are moving in a circular path, that is known as orbit. So this is second observation or second postulate made by Rutherford. Clear? And the third point was, so now question arises, isn't it? How those electrons will revolve around the nucleus. So here electrons and nucleus are held together by which force? So that is which force it is? Electrostatic force. Very good. So these are, electrostatic force of attraction. Clear? Because nucleus is a positively charged entity and electron is negatively charged. So that's why there will be attraction. Clear? Is this clear? So these are three postulates which explains the nuclear model of atom. So first one, what was the first? First he explained that the positive charge and most of the mass of the atom is situated at small portion or center of the atom, that is known as nucleus. And second point is the nucleus is surrounded by electron, which is called as orbit. And third one, electron and nucleus are held together by electrostatic force of attraction. Is this clear? So here, remember, we have to take a gold foil, that is thin sheet of gold foil. Yeah. So whenever we consider thin sheet of gold foil, so there will be 2 to 3 atoms. So that's why we can carry this reaction. If in case you are considering thick sheet of gold, what will happen? There will be no such observation. Clear? So here alpha particles are directly attacking over the atom, that is almost one atom. Is this clear? So this is a second nuclear model of atom. Clear? First one is by J.J. Thomson and second one is Rutherford nuclear model of atom. Clear? So now just tell me, what are the drawbacks? So he explained that positive charge is situated at the center. So then he explained that electrons are moving around the nucleus in a circular path. There is an electrostatic force between those two. Tell me, what are the drawbacks? Yeah. Yes, Anirudh, we will talk about that in this one. So when there is an electrostatic force, the electron should remain stable, isn't it? So that was the question, isn't it? So now, what will happen? What is the drawback? So clear, here nucleus is situated at the center and electrons are moving around the nucleus. So what was the drawback? First one, at some time the revolving electron may stop at center. Here he didn't explain about the stability of, it does not explain about the stability of atom. So first drawback is, so stability of an atom. Wouldn't explain about, that means this theory or this atomic model will never explain about what stability of an atom. How? Just imagine, so electrons are revolving around a nucleus in a circular path. Electrons are revolving around a circular path. So here, according to Maxwell electromagnetic theory, so this will study in physics, Maxwell electromagnetic theory. Yeah. According to this theory, Maxwell's theory. According to this theory, he explained that when any object or any particles move in an orbit, it have acceleration. It will achieve some acceleration. Clear? When electrons are moving around a nucleus in a circular path, it achieves acceleration. Clear? So when it accelerates, according to Maxwell electromagnetic theory, when charged particles accelerate, it emits radiation. Clear? So when these electrons are moving in a circular path, it starts to emit the radiation. What will happen if in case I am the charged body and I continuously emit the radiation? What will happen? Energy increases or energy decreases? Yeah, it loses energy. Just imagine if there is one person and he is moving with the acceleration, and suddenly he will lose its energy, isn't it? So that's why what will happen? Energy will decreases. When energy decreases, so then energy decreases. What will happen? It falls back into the nucleus. Because again, so there is a positive charge and negative charge. This is positively charged entity and this one is negative charge. So that's why when it moves around the nucleus, it continuously loses energy and it's fall into a nucleus. So that's why he didn't explain about the stability of an atom. So this was the first drawback of Rutherford model. And the second drawback of Rutherford model is nothing but it does not give any idea about distribution of electron around the nucleus. So here, distribution of electron around the nucleus. Clear? So second point, that is, it does not explain about the distribution of electron around the nucleus. And now we know, isn't it? So there are several shells with several different energy levels, isn't it? So that's why he didn't explain about the distribution of electron around the nucleus. Yeah. He explained about structure of atom, but he didn't explain about the stability and distribution of electron around the nucleus. So these two are main drawback of Rutherford nuclear model. Is this clear, student? Is this clear? First one, he took some observation. Based on that, he concluded, and then he given some postulates. Clear? So then, these are main drawbacks of Rutherford atomic model. Is this clear? Clear? Okay. So then we will move to a small topic which we know already, isn't it? So that is about atomic number and mass number. What is atomic number? What is atomic number? A small topic it is. Atomic number and mass number. First one is about atomic number. It is very easy and well-known topic, isn't it? Atomic number is nothing but number of proton or number of proton or number of electron in atom. In which type of atom? So if you are writing number of proton or number of electron, it is wrong. Clear? So just think over it. Atomic number is nothing but number of proton. It is right. If in case it is number of electron, it is not correct. So just tell me, if it is in terms of electron, what will be the? Yes, it is neutral atom. Clear? So that one is neutral atom. And the atomic number is represented by, atomic number is represented by Z. Isn't it? Yes, very good, Z. So then what is mass number? What is mass number? What is mass number? Sum of number of proton plus what? Number of neutron. Number of neutron. Clear? And it is represented by, it is represented by A. It is represented by A. So therefore, I'll take one example that if in case I'll consider element X, in that case, Z is a atomic number and A is a mass number. So I'll consider N, so that is N nitrogen with 7 atomic number and 14 mass number. Clear? Nitrogen with 7 atomic number and 14 mass number. What about carbon? What about carbon? Carbon atomic number is 6 and atomic mass is 12. Clear? So now just tell me how many protons, neutrons and electrons present in helium. How many? So I'll take it as electron, proton and neutron. Okay? Just tell me the answer. First electron, proton, next neutron. How many electrons present in helium? How many electrons are present? Yeah, 2. Proton, 2. And neutron, that is 2. So now I'll consider another. So that is helium plus 2. Helium plus 2. 2 and 4. How many electrons? How many electrons are present? Just tell me, how many electrons? Electrons, protons and neutrons. How many electrons? How many electrons? 0 electrons. How many protons? 2 protons and 2 neutrons. So next I'll consider another example, that is nitrogen. Nitrogen 7, 14 minus 3. Just tell me. Number of electron, how many number of electrons are present? For nitrogen, 7 electrons. Just tell me, atomic number is nothing but number of proton, so that is 7. Number of proton is 7, clear? Number of proton is 7 and number of neutron is 7. What about electron? Yeah, 3 electrons are, so that's why it is 4. Isn't it? Just tell me correctly. It's minus 3. What is the difference between plus 2 and minus 3 now? If it is He plus 2, then also you did same thing. In case of nitrogen minus 3, you did same thing. What was the answer? Tell me. What was the answer here? It is minus 3. Yeah, that is 10. Here I'll write it is 10. Again I'll consider O minus 2. O minus 2. What is the number of electron? Sorry, what is the atomic number and atomic mass? You have to remember till 30. Clear? 1 to 30. How to remember atomic number and atomic mass? Tell me, oxygen. 8 is our atomic number. What about mass number? What about mass number? 16. Yes. Then electron, proton and neutron. Electron, proton and neutron. Tell me. What about electron? I'll consider proton first. Proton is 8, neutron is 8. What about electron? Electron is 10. Isn't it? Is this clear? Just remember, if it is neutral atom, in that case, number of proton is always equals to number of neutron. Isn't it? So number of proton is always equals to number of electron in case of neutral atom. But if in case there is a charged ions, in that case it will vary. If in case there is a +2, you have to reduce by that number. If in case minus, you have to add. Is this clear? Is this clear, students? It is already noun one, isn't it? Huh? So next we will move towards next topic of this chapter. So that is about isotopes. Again, noun topic itself, noun thing. What are isotopes? What are isotopes? And name or give example for isotopes. It is well known, isn't it? We know about this. Just tell me. Just tell me. Atoms having same atomic number but different mass number. Example. So atom of, these are nothing but atom of same element, with same atomic number, but different mass number. Any examples? Yeah. That is, first one. Protium, deuterium and tritium. So that is H1, H12, H13. So this is protium, next deuterium and tritium. Next, any other example? So I'll consider carbon 6, 6 and 6. What are the example? Yes, so that is carbon 12, 13 and 14, which have a same atomic number, but different mass number. Isotopes are those elements, so those are nothing but atoms of same element which have a same atomic number, different mass number. So now next question. Yeah, chlorine notes. 1735 and 1737. Clear? So next example, next one is isobars. What are isobars? Yeah, 35 and 37. What are isobars? Now the question is, what are isobars? Isobars. What? Same mass number with a different atomic number. So these are atoms or elements with same mass number, but different atomic number. Example, same mass number but different. What are the examples? Argon and calcium. Yes, argon atomic number 18, and mass number is, it is 40. And next, calcium. For calcium, atomic number, what is the atomic number of calcium? So that is 20 and 40. There will be potassium also, that is 19 and 40. Any other example? Carbon and nitrogen with 6 and 7, where it will be 14 and 40. So just tell me another topics. Yeah, Shilpa. Yes, it is 40. Clear? So next one, clear, isobars. So isotope is nothing but same atomic number but different mass number. Isobars is nothing but same mass number but different atomic number. Next one, what are isotones? Isotones. Now tell me, what are isotones? What are isotones? Huh? Elements which have or which contains same number of what? Students, please answer. Yeah, I know. I know it was not there in your NCERT book, but it is very important. Just tell me, same number of neutron. So elements which have same number of neutrons. Any examples? Any examples? I'll consider silicon and sulfur. Just tell me its atomic number and atomic mass. Huh? Chlorine and carbon, chlorine and carbon, chlorine and carbon. How? How chlorine and carbon? Tritium and helium. Tritium and helium. Just check out. Same number of neutron must be there. Same number of neutron. In tomorrow class, just tell me some examples for this: isotones, isobars, and isotopes. Clear? It's a potassium. Which one? Which one? Okay, it's potassium. Okay, just tell me. Okay, so this is your homework. Clear?